Well, man, tell us who you are.
My name is James Thomas Wallace Jr.
Okay. And then where are you from?
I'm from Bossier City, Louisiana.
Yeah. So what do you do now?
I work for the Benton Fire District Number 4. It's north of Bossier City. In fact, it's called North Bossier, the area that's called North Bossier.
So tell me a little bit about your upbringing, and then kind of what led you to becoming a firefighter.
Well, I was born in 1954, so you can imagine the era that lived on Belgrove Street in Bossier City. Moved there in 1960. Started school that year, and mother, father, 2 sisters, and began to learn to play music and all those things that kids do, baseball, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Okay. So at what age did you get, it was Bossier Fire first, correct?
Yes, I started in 1974 with the fire department in Bossier City. It didn't take long to figure out that was what I was intended to do in the world.
Yeah.
Did a few things before that, but afterward it was always, that was the main thing. That was what I was intended to do. So
from the fire line until you became your district chief first, correct?
Well, I started out. I worked as a firefighter for 6 years. I became what's called an operator of a fire truck.
Right.
To pump the water and know how to get to where you're called to, and then I became a captain.
Right.
That was in 1988.
Okay.
Shortly after that, I moved from fire captain to chief of EMS, and then to fire chief. Okay.
So, talk a little bit about when was so what year was it that EMS became integrated with Bossier Fire, and how did that come about?
In 1974, I was in the first class of EMTs to be trained. In 1974, we started an ambulance service in 1988, which was maybe 87, but in the late 80s, it came to pass, and that's when we started. That's when I made chief of EMS, is to begin the process of running ambulance service.
Okay.
We had private ambulance services. Part of the thing that got us there was a tragic call that a lady was brutally attacked and raped in every room of the house.
Yeah.
She had a 6-week-old child in a crib, and she was stabbed numerous times in her upper torso. And we tried to work on her, and she fought us. She thought we were still the attackers.
Right.
And the bottom line is we ended up putting her on a fire truck and took her to the hospital.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the end for the private ambulance services. They just couldn't provide the service in the whole area. They were providing both sides of the river.
Yeah. Shreveport
had gone into the ambulance business. Fire department had gone into the ambulance business 2 years before us, and we tried to go with a group out of Texas, Plum Lee Ambulance, trying to get them to do a contract, and it was just more of the same.
Right.
It was hard to get anybody to commit to the standard that we were trying to accomplish, so it became a natural place to put it was in the fire service. So I had experience with that.
Right.
By working in the private ambulance service with them, and knew their faults and their strengths, and so was able to take that education and turn it into an ambulance providing service.
Right.
For the city.
So to give that story a little bit of context, I think what would be important for people to know. So your dad's experience on the fire service, he came on 55 as a volunteer, was that it?
It was 52.
52. So And he eventually became fire chief in
He
Bossier.
did. He became fire chief in Bossier. He served 38 years, so he made fire chief in 1982, and he retired at the end of the 80s. In the RAM, we started the ambulance service before he left.
Okay. And so what role, well, one, how much did he influence you becoming a firefighter?
Well, you know, he's my hero. He's who he and the men like him of that age were the people that I looked up to. You know, going to the fire station, you ended up knowing different people,
right?
And then you knew their families, and then you knew all you needed to know, and they were honorable people. Right. So it was a natural path, although I had not acknowledged that I had any interest in it at all. In fact, I went to college to major in music, and I wanted to be a rock star. Yeah. You know, that was my mindset. Well, I enjoyed the nightlife too much. Right. It was too many other things that got in the way of that, of progressing in that area. So the fire service was a natural. It had people just like me. It had people who thought that way and grew up in that era. So I went to work. He was my hero, and he things that he influenced me by. He would tell me which way he thought the fire service was heading, and the way to get ahead in the fire service is to follow this path. And so I was interested in it. We took it together. Yeah. I mean, it was enjoyable, although it was in the morgue of Confederate Memorial Hospital, which is now Ochsner's Hospital in Shreveport. It was in the morgue. It was a fascinating field, and it was new, and it was something that we both enjoyed. But he believed that if you backed ambulances into the fire station, they would never leave. And he was right. It was what we evolved into, and even more so today than then. We do that. That's what we do, and it's as it should be. I mean, we are literally the perfect place for it.
Right. So let's kind of go. So you became fire chief of Bossier, and what year was that?
92.
92. So from the time that JT Senior retires, which was 88.
Yes.
So interim there, had another fire chief, and you became fire chief.
Yes.
And you were fire chief in Bossier until what year?
Till 1999, till September the 1st of 99.
So, and then the transition was then to Benton.
Yes, Benton, with in mind, recreating, following the same path that we had followed in Bossier City. Right. It was about improving the fire insurance rating. Right. And we've been successful at that. So it's all about a safer community, and a lot of communities that connect to communities that have good public safety want to emulate that. Right. And a lot of people will move right outside the city assuming that that's what they have, and normally that's not the truth. Yeah. It has to be developed, and that was the role that I was to play, is to develop that system. Okay,
so from the turn of the century until now, so roughly 25, working on 26 years that Yes. You've been out there. What changes have you seen since you've been there, from what you were handed essentially, and then what it looks like now?
The community then was 6,500 people who lived in not in Benton proper is not to be thought about. It's still the same geographical size as it was 25 years ago. Right. And they have about 3,000 people. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with that size, and there's nothing wrong with the community in of itself. But the big news is that there's over 30,000 people who have moved in the area between Bossier and Benton, and out on the lake, Cypress Lake, and in that area. And now that there's different public roads that connect everything together, you're going to see a larger boom. The big thing that's changed is you have 35,000 people where you had 6,500 in 1990.
Right.
Now you have over 30,000 in that same geographical. It's 174 square miles that runs from inside Benton, inside Bossier proper, all the way to Rocky Mount north, to the river on the west, and then to out to close to Princeton and on the east. So it's a big area.
Right. So in being out there, that's one of those things too, like with that expansion, I would say, like, how specifically has the fire service grown out there?
Well, you know, it had the fire service was divided into 6 fire districts, actually 7 fire districts in Bossier Parish, each of which are a taxing entity within themselves. The police jury would be the mother organization that says form this, and then you have this special taxing district who goes out and creates their own revenue through ad valorem tax. It's the only form of revenue that's legally possible to get. So if you want more than you get 10 meals to start with. If you want more than that, you have to get permission from the legislature. You first go to the police jury, you ask, can we do that? And then they say yes. You go to the legislature and they allow it.
Okay.
And then you raise that money, and then you're able to hire people, and you're recreating what was already created. It's a very, during this period of time where you have a tremendous population growth, that is the perfect ideal way of doing it.
Right.
It gets as big as the amount of people that you have or you need to serve, and it makes perfectly good sense. The problem with it is it doesn't have that government body who formed it has very little to do with it other than appointing members to that body.
Right.
And that's okay. It's just that we've been in existence since, say, the early 90s as a taxing entity, and that's not very old when it gets down to forms of government. You don't have a lot of strength in being able to do other things that you need to do. So I had come from a place that had a finance department. It had things that were done and that you took for granted, that systems that were already in place. We've had to recreate that and build it from the ground up. So at 25 years, it's a well-oiled machine, and it's working properly. Right. But between then and now, it's been at times hurdles that you had to get over and systems that you had to build to get there.
So then, okay, that brings up a question for me. So as fire chief in Bossier, as opposed to being the fire chief in Benton, would you say that it's more of a political role in a fire district?
In the fire district, there are politics in everything in life, but especially this particular thing. You're not competing with any particular entity. Like in Bossier City, you'd be competing with the police department or the water department, for resources to go. This is one taxing form of taxing, and it's ad valorem. You have all of it.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to compete for that. But what you have to do is there's so many things you have to do that are required to provide the service.
Right.
And you have to be ethical to the point of you don't want to commit to doing more than you can do with what you have to do it with, or you won't be able to provide any service. Right. So you have to, it's a juggling act. It requires a little more ability to see what's practical. Mm-hmm. And to plan for the future, you have to really spend some time and understand and know the community. You have to pretty much, the only thing that you could be considered an expert in is this geographical area. If you're not, you've not done your job.
Right. So as far as your career as a whole, what would you say, what was the single most enjoyable experience that you've had in the fire service, or rather the most rewarding?
seeing young people succeed, and watching the beauty of human nature. Just to see that the good in people is still good.
Right.
It's not going away. A lot of people, they get all caught up in the evil and the terrible things. There's still a lot of good,
Right.
especially in our geographical area north of Bossier City. There is a lot of good people there, and there's a lot of good things happening, and it will continue to be good. The most rewarding thing would be just seeing people get trained, learn to do something that's very hard, and be good at it.
So what aspect of your career do you think will be known as your legacy?
That's hard to believe. I don't see it. But I know that I've enjoyed the last 25 by far the most.
Right.
It's been the most rewarding. I was the most prepared for this. Any other task. I mean, I'm quite comfortable in doing the dance that we do every day,
Right.
and would have no trouble doing it as long as I can imagine. There's always things you would like to have done better, or you would like to have seen what was going to happen sooner,
Yeah.
so you could have changed something. But I can't think of a whole lot of things that are more rewarding than seeing people's lives changed. You know, you make a difference, and not only the employees do you get to see them enjoy and flourish and grow, but if you can imagine a group of 40 people all planted in the same planter and growing together into a more uniform, productive group. If you can imagine seeing that's my kind of satisfaction. That's the things I look at. We are a life-saving machine. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And there's nobody better at it. There's nobody can do it better than we do, because we've learned that geographical area and we know what it needs. I would love to see more people, more fire stations, and those are in the works.
Right.
All of that's in the works. I've learned patience, and that is not my strong suit. I've had to learn that. Yeah. I've learned patience, and when you learn patience, what you do is you're able to watch things mature and grow and see the beauty of it in its entirety.
Right. So we'll kind of go back to your dad, because one thing that I'm curious about, in both your career as well as just life in general, I mean, what would you say was the biggest takeaway from the conversations that you had with him and wisdom that he instilled in you, career focus as well as just philosophy on life in general?
He was a teacher. He constantly taught, and I would go and I would just hang out in his office, and while on duty I'd go and you know, the intent was to find out what scoop is, you know, what's going on. Well, what you learned was that you got taught lessons while you were there.
Right.
And I was being groomed and prepared for a future that I had no idea I was fixing to be, you know, thrust into. It was not my intent to climb that ladder,
right.
Especially the fact that at the speed that it had to be climbed. One could say he taught me when it was the right time to make a move, to try to advance, just the direction. He believed that anybody could do it, and he's right. Anybody can do it. You just have to commit yourself. You have to learn what is important. He taught me what was important. Right. You know, he when he retired, one of the things that I remember most is I said, I really wish you wouldn't do this. I wish you would stay. He goes, it's my time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's when someone is going to leave or change jobs or retire, the biggest thing is they know that it's the right thing to do, and you can't change their mind.
Yeah.
No matter what you do. That's the thing that I learned. Don't worry about if you're doing the right thing or not. When the time is right for you to move and either retire or go and do another job, you'll know that.
Yeah.
And I've trusted that, and I've lived by it, you know. And Sometimes you have to surrender to the truth, that surrender to the facts of life.
Yeah.
Whatever, you have to do that, and he taught me that.
Yeah, I think I ultimately benefited from when he retired. Yeah,
we actually all did, without knowing it. I mean, everyone became his focus. I mean, his focus changed from what it was to that, and whatever he focused on, he was very good at doing. And what he did, he loved, and he took. I heard it put this way: he took to retirement as it was a natural state of being.
Yeah,
I can't see it as a natural state. I've not gotten to that point yet, so I don't know how to do that. When it's my time, I will know how to do that.
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna have to go hit golf clubs or something, man. Whenever that happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
I promise you, I will be ready. I'll be ready when it's the time. Now I hope the time comes sooner than later, but I don't know. I'm not ready yet. I know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would ask you how long you plan on staying on, but I know there's really no way to know that.
Well, I know. Everything that I need to accomplish will be within the next several years. So it might be in the next 5 years. But I don't know that.
Yeah.
Things happen. Plans have to be fluid because they do change, especially in this industry that I'm in.
All right. Well, we've talked about. I think we hit all the points fire service wise that I want to. I kind of want to talk about music. Tell me a little bit about, like, when did you start playing? So you're a guitarist and a singer songwriter, but when did you start playing?
I believe that I was preteen, and 12 years old. Started playing. It was a Sears guitar, acoustic guitar. Really hard to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Action's horrible.
It was good to develop calluses on your finger, and I really enjoyed it. I had been in band and learned to play trombone, so I had learned to read music a bit, by then, and then enjoyed that. Enjoyed music, period. But when I picked up the guitar, it was like magic, man. I would dream at night about it.
Yeah.
Have dreams about playing, and get up the next morning and play. It was quite interesting. We would play. Of course, my mother would make us play outside on the carport, and it would draw a crowd, from all that. And then there were other people who played. They would come over and we'd play together. It was fun. Of course, it was from 12. I think I played my first professional gig and played it in a bar when I was 16.
Right. Yeah.
The thing was, you just couldn't drink. You could work, but you couldn't drink.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, when we were underage, they'd feed you all you wanted.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have nothing to drink. Yeah. So that really, I don't know. I mean, of course, the main goal of anybody who plays music really is to become a rock star. But I mean, what was really the catalyst for making you decide to, get out of school for music and then jump into the fire service?
Well, I enjoyed drinking beer.
Right.
And playing foosball more than I enjoyed going to class.
Yeah.
And so when I was going to school to major in music, and was told that I was not serious enough about it, and I was going to have to go to work.
Yeah.
And so to go into work meant I either would be a fireman or I would be a carpenter. The two things that I had displayed some interest in.
Right.
And so it was my daddy's wisdom that told me you need to do one of these two. So I took a civil service test and I passed it. Yeah. Although I didn't try very hard.
Yeah.
I really didn't. In fact, I didn't care if I passed it or not. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
But that was the point. I passed it, and then I went and then I had to go. Had to get a haircut and look like normal. And
how long was your hair?
It was to the middle of my back, past my shoulders.
Okay.
So when I got it cut about here, And the fire chief at the time, he said, well, you will have to get a haircut. And I said, well, I just did. And he goes, oh, we're going to have trouble. And I said, no, you won't. And I'll cut it whatever you want. And so that was it.
So whenever you got on, that's something too I never thought about. So we're just circling back to the fire service with a little bit of like context. So that's 72, correct?
1974.
Four. So in 74, what rank was your dad at that time? Was he a captain?
Deputy chief.
He was a deputy chief at that point.
He had been promoted, and he actually was our training officer. He trained our group, and honestly, it was such a thorough training. Yeah. I mean, I used it. It got me through that first till 1999. I mean, I lived off of that beginning training with, along, and then he had to add paramedic and all those things with it.
Right.
But that initial training really was how we were still doing business 20 years later.
So when did y'all start wearing air in the house fires?
We were trained to wear it, and
right.
and it was provided for us. It was not popular,
right?
And it was neglected.
Right.
It was neglected on most cases because we'd have to take the bottles somewhere, physically take them off campus and fill them somewhere else. Right. So because of that, it was frowned upon to do it. So right. We didn't actually wear them religiously. They were worn religiously from probably my onset as a fire chief forward.
99 forward?
99 forward. Say the turn of the century for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you don't see anybody without one.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's just unheard. It'd be something unheard of.
Yeah, because I remember, for context, I haven't said this on this podcast yet. My dad being 28 years at Shreveport Fire, that's something he talked about a lot was, like you said, it was a resource that you had if you needed it. I mean, if you're just absolutely in a terrible situation, I mean, it's there for that reason. But,
one of the things, especially in Shreveport, they had a tremendous manpower, right. And they ran a lot of rescue trucks and stuff. The people on rescue trucks were by far the most intelligent. They wore the air pack, yeah. And the only reason that the other guys started wearing it is because the rescue truck had girls on it. And when they girl went in and took the nozzle from you and put the fire out and told you to get out,
yeah,
that's what did it.
Demasculated you, yeah.
Yes. So the whole thing was, it's not because she's not that superior of a firefighter to you. She's just using her resources. That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And that's really what made it domino and reinforce. Steve Nazat is chief. He's the EMS head in Bossier Parish.
Okay.
And he specifically told me about an instant that actually happened.
So he came from Shreveport originally?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so he told me that story about a girl that came in on a rescue truck and was wearing an air pack and outdid him, and he said, "That's it, no more." Yeah. That'll never happen again.
It's crazy what the human body will do when it has enough oxygen, huh?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it you can't see. You lose all your senses. You can feel heat. You can feel what's on the outside, but when you can't breathe, you can't do anything very long.
Right.
You can't see. You can't breathe. So you got to go.
Right.
If you can breathe and you can manipulate her in and out, you can go in there and put the fire out. It's far better to do this stuff from the outside. Yeah. There's very little now that we know that why people get cancer that are firemen. Yeah. Now we know that it's exposure to those carcinogen that's in the smoke. Now we know that there's no possible scenario that makes it okay to be exposed to it any longer than you have to.
Right.
So exterior attacks are far more preferable to interior attacks.
Well, I know it's policy now, turnout gear has to be washed after fires,
and
correct?
You have to have two sets of it.
Right.
You have two sets, and then you take that off, you bag it, you take it back to an extractor, a huge machine, yeah. And you put like a washing machine, you put it in, and it does that. It has to air dry.
Yeah.
You can put air, blowing air in it, but it has to sit out either in the temperature, room temperature, but it can't be cold. You know, it has to dry.
Right.
And once that happens, you're good to go. And fire trucks don't stink anymore because of it. You'd never put it back inside the cab of a fire truck. You remember the smell of a fire truck when you go?
Well, yeah, I just remember my dad, especially my dad coming home a lot of times when he's at Station 14, Moortown. I mean, they've been a lot of house fires over there.
You smell it. I mean, there's a unique smell about it. And it's the same in any fire station in the country. You go to it, you smell that smell. They're not doing the things they should be doing. You should never be able to smell that. Yeah. It should be a neutral smell. But it's that smell of the fire station. It is a comforting smell. That smell is not a pungent, nasty thing. To me, it's very comforting because I smelled it so long. It's just not healthy.
Right. Well, I think especially with our dads being firemen, that's always going to be a comforting smell.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. But the new way and the new fire trucks we buy have clean cabs. I mean, they have machines that put out chemicals that are for getting rid of that smell and getting rid of the carcinogens that are off gassing. And your clothes must be washed. It's no excuse not to.
Well,
you don't even take your clothes home.
Yeah, that is definitely different. I remember that big red bag, man, coming home every time.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. I mean, outside of really everything that we covered, I mean, what's the changes that you want to see as far as you're saying what you want to get accomplished? Can you speak to what specifically you want to get accomplished before you retire?
Well, procedurally we've changed some things that are going to make it more favorable for a better fire rating, to lower the insurance costs for people, and so that's my major focus now, and cancer prevention.
Right.
I want to see that in full bloom, and because that's going to make a huge difference. Right. We know we already do exercise. We incentivize exercise. We want health and safety, and that's a priority that's paramount above all else. But to be able to utilize what the resources we have to benefit the taxpayer, that's the bottom line.
Right.
And accomplishing that, we can do that now. We just have to call for a rating, and that's what we're going to do. And that and getting more and adding more people.
Well, you got anything else for me, man?
Not that. So whatever, man, I got it. But it continues on, and we can go down this path. But theoretically, there's what kills firemen is what we don't know about yet. Yeah. And that's the problem. We don't know what we don't know till we know it.
Right.
And so that's my job, is to continuously dig.
Yeah.
Never stop.
Well, that's why you're good at what you do, man.
Well, I hope so.
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding with that. Anybody can see y'all's facilities and all that good stuff. And
it's come a long way. It really has, and I'm proud of that, and all of our guys are proud of it. And so we look forward to continuing on.
I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.